The member for Goldstein has the call.
Oh dear, you're going to regret that, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, it's a great privilege to be able to speak on this motion. In fact, it's welcome that we're able to have the opportunity to talk about these important issues around government expenditure, because all Australian money that the government raises comes from the taxpayer. And so it should be spent judiciously and prudently in the best interest of the advancement of Australians. And the comparison between this side of the chamber and that side of the chamber is we always think about how it is we can enlarge the best interests of the whole of the Australian population. Now, you just need to take the federal electorate of Goldstein as but one example. During Labor governments, we get resources and commitments and financial support for our community at, I won't use the expression because it would be unparliamentary levels, Deputy Speaker, but it is virtually non-existent. But all members in this chamber get financial support to support their communities, including in this difficult time. In fact, people may recall, the members may recall, at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, a community-wide program was allocated to just about every single council across the country to be able to invest in local infrastructure at a critical time where councils needed assistance and support and local projects needed to be produced to ensure that local communities got the financial support that they need. But I presume that's what the members on the other side of the chamber are arguing against, that they don't want a fair and equitable distribution of resources for community infrastructure in their electorates. Of course, I'll never mention that, Deputy Speaker, because if they did, it would not be consistent with their farcical narrative they bring into this chamber. But I will say that I was out of the chamber, but a number of members have mentioned it to me, that the member for Whitlam took particular opportunity to refer to the wonderful electorate of Goldstein during his address, in particular an expression called drinking one's own bathwater. Now, I concede, Deputy Speaker, I had never heard that expression before. As fast as the press gallery had to race and look up what Kim Beazley meant when he uttered the expression boondoggle, I did so as well. And it seems to allege that, as a member in this place, that I believe my own fantasies. Now, leaving aside those allegations, they seem very familiar to me. I recall them at the last election. Similar sentiments were made by members opposite when I was arguing and campaigning very aggressively against their retiree tax. And they kept arguing that my positions were a fantasy, despite constantly putting up Australians all across the country and giving them a platform to be able to voice their own concern. While they were too busy seeking to push 80-year-olds down the financial stairs, we were standing up and giving them a voice. If that's what they mean by drinking one's own bathwater, I humbly accept the criticism, because some of us are unafraid to stand up for our communities. Some of us are unafraid to stand up for our country and its best interests. And I note that some of the members previously were talking about the wonderful electorate of Goldstein and the allocation of funding under the Urban Congestion Fund to the city of Glen Eira. And in fact, recently this did become a mild point of controversy, as the city of Glen Eira argued that the investment in the upgrades of commuter car parking at the Bentley and Elsternwick stations was unwelcome, despite the fact that it was the largest grant ever allocated to the city of Glen Eira. We had councillors Li Zhang argue against wanting this funding. Is it any surprise that she happens to be a Labor councillor? Dr David Zingia, who is a Greens councillor, arguing the same. Councillor Tony Hinopoulos, who is also a Labor councillor. But my favourite one was the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Jim McGee, who reported in the Nine Press as saying the council didn't ask for the money, nor did it have to compete for it, like we always have to do, get government funding with detailed submissions and heavy lobbying. Quote, "We will gratefully accept money as long as it's upfront, legitimate, and it's for a worthy cause that council has identified as a priority. This council didn't note any of these two car parks a priority, and this council didn't actually ask for this money." So what did I do, Deputy Speaker? I went back and flicked through my files before the last election to see where did we come up with this ingenious idea that was not received by proposal or by priority. It just so happens, Deputy Speaker, we had A proposal from the City of Glen Iris saying this was a priority project as part of their urban congestion busting strategy. And that's the approach this government takes. Priorities, community,
Order.
outcomes.
The honourable member's time has